if I could be so blunt with you and say you frustrate me and you get on my nerves, because in this political climate, where we have an election happening in November, you refuse to pick a side, and I need you to pick a side. And I think strong men like you, when you don't pick a side, then it kind of gives them another excuse to not pick a side or continue to pick the same side that will help them keep their girlfriend or their wife happy.
So Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. He came not to bring peace, but to bring a sword. And it's a sword that will separate families, separate friends, separate everyone, because to choose a side is to not choose Democrat or Republican, but to choose Christ or the world. It is really what it boils down to. And so I try to preach Christ and him crucified more so than the virtues and the value of the Republican Party. A lot of what Black Republicans believe about the Republican Party as being the champion of the Black cause and this and the third, it's kind of a half truth, because the reality is when you look at the history of the Republican Party, they were just as complicit in the demoralization and the decline of Western civilization as the Democrats.
Yeah,
and that's the truth. It's not a matter of it's not a matter of not wanting to like be principled and being wishy-washy. It's not a matter of that. It's just acknowledging an objective fact that both are responsible and complicit in the decline of Western civilization. Even bigger than the cultural war that's raging, even bigger than that is a spiritual war that's raging. And so, frankly, Christ doesn't care about your political labels. He cares about souls. And so I think a lot of us, we spend more time engaging in the cultural war, engaging in the kind of political warfare, that we spend very little time preaching Christ and him crucified. And so to the extent that I engage, I mean, I literally have a show called Cutting Through the Culture. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't talk about culture. I do. But my involvement or my voice in the matter is to look at the ways in which we have gone awry and to, again, bring it back to the cross, bring it back to the scripture and ask, what saith the Lord in this particular situation, in this particular circumstance? And to be honest with you, this is a reason why I'm critical of Martin Luther King, because he's someone who placated, who masqueraded as a pastor when really he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And so, yes, I'm going to be critical of that because the Bible tells us to test every spirit to see if it's of God. And so I do pick a side. It just isn't the side that many people want us to be. Now, do I vote?
I was going to ask you that. Should we vote?
Yes,
I was going to ask you practically, should we vote?
We should. It will be a dereliction of duty as citizens of this country to not vote. But my thing is, I have no illusions about what my vote means. My voting for Donald Trump, which I'm going to vote for Donald Trump in November, but my voting for Donald Trump isn't some kind of expectation for him to turn the country around and make things right. Because at the end of the day, the onus is on us in a constitutional republic to make for peace, structure, and stability in our land. But we do a very poor job as citizens of this country holding our elected officials accountable. And so for all the complaining we do about who's in office and AOC and this, that, and the other, really, once again, we have no one but ourselves to blame because we do a piss poor job preserving and conserving our country. We just do. We punt the responsibility to the politicians, and the politicians, many of them are corrupt. There's a disconnect between the grassroots folks who fight for Republican values at the ground level and the politicians who are actually in office. There is a uniparty that's going on. Make no mistake about it.
For sure.
And so again, it's up to that grassroots to hold the politicians accountable. But the fact is, the politicians are beholden to the highest bidders, to their donors, and to the bureaucracy, and that's real. Politics is a very cutthroat game. And so again, us arguing on social media over who or which politicians are the best, meanwhile they're in the back room laughing, or they're behind the closed doors laughing at us because really they're all on the same team.